Life Coaching Today presents, hosted by Kadada.
Hey y'all, good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday, July 24th. Guess what, y'all? We made it another week. So if we were here last week and we made it to this week, praise God, okay? Because I'll tell you what, and no sadness here, but a lot of people were called home. Were called home, okay? So and hopefully they are all at peace. But I am happy to be here with you all this morning. My name is Kadada Esmera Gray, and I am your conflict whisperer. And if this is the first time you are joining, please know that over here we are a truth teller. We like to tell the truth about stuff, but also it's called the conflict whisperer because guess what? I love conflict. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because simply this, because there's always an opportunity for resolution, hence conflict resolution. There's always an opportunity for resolve, hence resolution. And also, we should not fear conflict because conflict is every day, all day in the air that we breathe, how we make decisions, how we interact with each other every day. And it's nothing to fear. Okay. And if you are fearful of it, guess what? I'm here to teach you about it. And on this show, what I do is I teach you about it with my best friends, with the people that I know that have great stories, that have great backgrounds in like therapy. Like, guess what? We have therapist Zach with us today, and that's what I'm calling him from here on out. And he has no choice in the matter. With special skills, with interesting jobs that just cover all types of conflicts. And as we talk about it and have discussions and have laughter, guess what? I'm going to give you guys skills. And hopefully you're like, okay, wait a minute. I can think about this differently. Hopefully you can say, I'm not afraid. Or hopefully you can say that, guess what? I learned something. So that is what the Conflict Whisperer is about. And I am happy to be with you this morning. Like I said, my name is Kadada Esmera Gray. And we have the wonderful Yoruba producer because apparently I am not left good to my own devices. And so, hey to Yoruba, thank you for being with me because that's what y'all this morning. I was in the bathroom, zhuzhing, putting the makeup on, and something literally said, I wonder, wouldn't it be funny if I missed my show this morning or if I was late, and literally ran to the kitchen because I'm in my kitchen this morning and looked at the time and it was like 8:56. And at that same time, y'all, Yoruba sent me a message and it was like, hey, is everything okay? So I was trying to look cute. Sorry, just gonna say it. I was trying to look cute. I have no shame. No shame in my game. No shame in my game. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. But I'm happy to be here with you all this morning because it's a good morning. I don't know what the weather's going to be like over here, but it's probably going to be hot. So, and I promised that I would have some interesting stories to tell. But first, we have to just say to one of our poets' favorite actors, favorite musicians, Malcolm Jamal Warner, may he rest in peace. God called him home last week as he was in a accident in the ocean. Apparently there was an undercurrent in the ocean and he did not survive it. So may he be at rest in peace. May his family find some level of condolences because I know it's going to be a challenge for them. So, and also let's just pray, you guys, because there was another man that got caught in the undercurrents as well, and he's still hospitalized, as I know of yesterday, right? So hopefully we're going to say prayers for him to be able to go home to his family. Because I'm telling y'all, let me just tell you quickly, this island girl knows some things. If you get caught in an undercurrent, y'all, swim away. And then if you're caught in a riptide, swim parallel to the shore. Don't ever try to go through the breakers of the waves. Don't try to fight the undercurrent, because it is stronger than you. Water is definitely stronger than you. And I'm more scared of water than fire, y'all. And I'm afraid of fire. One day I'll tell you the story, as to why. But I also want to, as we keep rolling along, I want to tell you all some stories in our ethos that you guys should be aware of. So the first one is, I'm just going to call her Grandma Nikki. Now, Grandma Nikki is, I think the sister girl is in her 60s. I think she's from Atlanta because she was going on our wonderful Delta. She was on a flight the other day to Tucson, Arizona. 20 minutes into the flight after taking off, leaving Atlanta Hartsfield, a woman came barreling, running down the aisle 20 good minutes after the flight lifted off. And here's what's interesting. The men on the flight said they did not want to intervene because they were afraid of what would happen if they intervened, because this woman was heading straight directly to the cockpit. But guess what? Grandma Nikki was not having any of it. She took her AirPods out, put them in her seat, and said, I am about to whoop this woman's ass. And that's a quote. So don't come for me. That's a quote. And she beat that woman down and saved. I'm going to say it again. Everyone on the flight, because this woman was fighting to open the door of the cockpit. I think that's the way we say it. And like I said, that's a whole discussion about why it is the men didn't intervene. I don't know, is that woke ideology taken too far when it comes to safety because they think a woman can't cause harm? Deposit that in your system for a second. But yeah, so Grandma Nikki saved the day. I mean, like, this woman was fighting everybody. And Grandma Nikki said, hold it. Hold my beer, y'all. I'm about to handle this. And she handled this. And let me tell you why she could handle it. Because she has served in our military and she has been well trained. So all y'all men out there saying that women shouldn't be in the military. Well, she saved a whole plane of people. So shout out to Grandma Nikki. She gets an award today for me. So shout out to Grandma Nikki. Love her. Second story that we need to know in the streets of America, because guess what? We need to know. And I think this is super important. I think this is like a sign of the times, and I'm not trying to do wars against people about men and women, but listen, we have got to be safe because there are some raggedy people in this world. So guess what? Our Uber, which is a part of our everyday lives. Rideshare is a part of our everyday lives, to the point now that young people don't even want to learn how to drive because they just want to be, they really just want to rideshare, right? They haven't understood the expense of it, but okay, we're going to leave that alone. But guess what? Uber is going to allow women to literally start swiping past men, male drivers, and say, I'm looking for a female driver for my own safety. Woo! I love it. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I would love to know your thoughts on that, because let me tell you something. It's rough in these streets. A lot of women get harmed. And I don't know if that's just for driving or if it's also for food delivery, because a lot of women have gotten stalkers too. Men who drop food off at their doors and won't leave or keep coming back, to the point where women are saying things like, oh, they're ordering 2 meals to give the appearance that they have a mate. Isn't that interesting? So shout out to Uber. I don't shout out to Uber often because they need to be unionized and pay people properly. But that one, I'm going to give them an award for. Mm. So yeah, I just think that's crazy stuff. So shout out to Grandma Nikki. Shout out to Uber. And then my last shout out this morning, because I'm a dog lover, but we're now, and I know I have people who listen to me who are dog lovers. And guess what? We're going to go international with the store. International. Okay. So the continent of Australia, they roll real different over there, right? One day I hope to go. But your girl is a political chica too, right? And the Australian government, they're just really, seems to me, they're really in tune with all types of beings on the continent. Oh, sorry, but let me just lean in and say this, except for the indigenous people who were there first. But that's a different conversation. So once again, back to all the beings, right? And so they make a lot of laws about the animals. And someone in the Australian Parliament has created a bill to be a supposed law to say that every day a dog owner should spend 3 hours with their doggies every day. They want to make that law. I don't know how you implement it, but that shout out to them to take on the fact that they're like, listen, y'all need to be a little bit more attentive to the doggies. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. Even though with my relationship with my dog, listen, her and I might be fighting after a while. She might be getting on my nerves. I might be getting on her nerves. I don't know. But yeah, I just, Robin is saying that she's walking her pup now. Hey, Robin, good morning. But think about it, Chica. What would happen if you were absolutely mandated to spend 3 hours with your dog every day? But shout out, someone's thinking about the beings, about the animals. And if you're like my daughter who loves agriculture and loves ag policy, short for agriculture policy, she might get down with this. But once again, I'm going to say this. I'm going to need them to make some laws that really honor and respect the indigenous people. That should be paramount. But I'm going to leave that alone. We can't solve everything today. Just giving you a little thought. So the glasses come back on because I was trying to pretend like I can see, and I can't see much. Everything is blurry and I don't have my readers. That's what happens when you're now officially in a different age range. But I hope y'all are loving the earrings. I thought it was time to bring the Round the Way Girl earrings out because they haven't been out all season. It's been a while. So let me just say this. So I told y'all Zach, the therapist, or therapist Zach, is back with us. And let me tell you why. I couldn't let it go. And something was really deposited in my system that I couldn't let go. And he said, one of the things he said, the last show he was on with us, he said, I think he said, and I'm going to paraphrase, and he's going to come on and he's going to correct me. He asked men and women, it should be also to women, but if you were to would you treat your friend the way that you were treating your mate? For a couple of weeks now, that has been sitting in my system. It's been live in my system, y'all. And I knew I needed more. He also said, why are you in relationships with people you don't love? I don't. I'm telling you, when something sits in my spirit, I need more because it's honest. It's a very honest perspective. It's a very honest conversation that we were having about the relationships between men and women. And I started receiving questions like, you need to ask him this, you need to ask him that. And y'all know I got my notebook of my 1,001 notebooks, and I have all these questions for him. And I was even on the phone with him, and him and I can't have a conversation. We cannot have a short discussion at all because it's like and the encyclopedias and the filofaxes. Y'all may not know what filofaxes are for certain people, but we're gonna keep it rolling. Filofaxes of information, the doom scrolling of conversation keeps going and going and going. And I was like, listen, we have to have an additional show because the challenges that people have inside of relationships, we need better skills, y'all. We need better skills. Because if our parents, for some of us, if our parents were the mirror image of what it is that we were looking for in relationships, we're all in trouble. If our parents are the mirror image of the unhappiness that some of us are in relationships, I need y'all to get divorced. I'm gonna need y'all to just go find happiness. And then we don't even discuss the babies. We don't even discuss the children who are in these spaces, right? And what does that look like? But today we have him on. He's back. He's back. And so, Yoruba, can we go ahead and queue up for commercial? And I am going to take a sip of tea. And on the other side, we will have therapist Zach Miers back with us for a great conversation. So y'all gonna watch me drink my tea. And we're gonna see what did Robin say? Robin said it will create awareness, so hopefully stimulate conversations about puppies. Yes. But mandated, nah, we won't. In the United States, we can never pass anything like that. We could never.
Are you a life coach who wants to make a difference in the world?
So,
do you want to share your wisdom, passion, and experience with others? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you need Life Coaching Today. Life Coaching Today is the largest platform on the web for life coaches, therapists, and hypnotherapists who want to enhance their visibility, gain exposure, and connect with clients. Life Coaching Today is more than just a directory. It's a network of opportunities. By joining Life Coaching Today, you will get access to a magazine where you can be featured and connect with over 30 million subscribers. Be a guest to our podcasts with over 55,000 subscribers. A directory where you can showcase your profile, services, and testimonials to thousands of potential clients. And that's not all. Life Coaching Today also offers a free 30-minute coaching session on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where you can be coached or meet your next client. A flexible pricing plan where you can choose the best option for your budget and goals. A dedicated customer service team where you can get help and guidance whenever you need it. So what are you waiting for? Join Life Coaching Today and take your life coaching career to the next level. Visit www.lifecoachingtoday.com and sign up today. Life Coaching Today, the largest portal on the web connecting coaches, therapists, and hypnotherapists.
Good morning.
Okay, y'all. Good morning. Listen, I'm hot. I done took the tea and got hot, y'all. We're not going to talk about the menopausal chica on here today. But welcome. Good morning, everyone. Kadada Asmara Gray, Conflict Whisperer here this morning. So if you are joining, welcome back. If we have never met, welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. And one of my favorites is on this morning. Therapist Zach is with us. Good morning. Good morning, Zach.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Kadada?
I am awesome this morning. I am perky. I'm running around the house. In that commercial break, I was like, I need some coconut water. So I'm sprinting in the house to make sure I have that. So good morning. How have you been? We missed
I'm doing really. Hey, I missed you too. It was nice talking to you the other day on the phone. I know, as you were saying, like we get on the phone and an hour goes, and then we start to say, hey, we've been on the phone for an hour. Like let's put this in the podcast, right? But every time we talk, I know it's really it has a lot of depth to our conversation, which is really nice. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. As always, all glory to God. I'm happy to be here. Hopefully that we can help some people out today.
Yeah, Zach, I'm going to ask that you are clicking over there, so check your microphone. And you have a friend, Stacy Owens, that said, "Hi, Zach." You're clicking. Something's clicking. You have static over there.
Well, can you hear me? Oh, 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Am I on?
Are we okay? We good? I can't hear you. 1 second.
One of the biggest challenges for coaches, practitioners, and hypnotherapists is getting clients. As coaches ourselves, we know how difficult it is on social media to stand out and gain credibility. That is why at Life Coaching Today, we connect coaches like you with clients. It all starts with our directory, where it's possible to create a profile that gets the right exposure with over 12,000 hits a month. You can gain credibility by writing for Life Coaching Today magazine, add videos, be interviewed on our podcast, teach classes in the community, and sell your products directly from our website. Not to mention, we actually connect clients who are actively searching for coaches who can best serve them. So if you are struggling to get clients, have Life Coaching Today help you get more clients. Go to lifecoachingtoday.com.
We back? I can't seem to hear you, Kadana. I'm sorry. What's going on here? Can you hear me? Hello?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
All right. I don't know, but we are live again, y'all. So.
This is what happens when we go live. We get to demonstrate our conflict resolution with our technology.
Listen, we love a good conflict on this show, and apparently, I spoke life into some stuff that had to do with technology too. So, you guys, thank you for the patience. Thank you for the we don't know what's going on, but hey, we're back. And okay, you know how? Wait a minute. You know how like you are in school? Remember when you're in school and you're like, oh, everyone always sits in the same place, regardless if there's assigned seats. I just had that phenomenon because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong side.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with myself. Yeah, you took a left-handed person and put her on the right-hand side, and my life is over with. Thank you. Now I understand how to behave this morning. Because I was like, wait, what is going on here? I am so crazy. So welcome back, you all. I was over here being a chatterbox, so we'll pretend like we're starting again. Welcome, therapy, Zach. Zach is back, you guys. And I'm super excited. And one of the things that Zach said is that when we get on the phone, we end up talking for about an hour and we act like we don't have work to do. But we have a good time and a good conversation, because when adults have conversation, we can get to some stuff, right? We are literally digging in. And so you guys, Zach, I'm going to have you take a moment and just introduce yourself again. And remind me later on to make a huge announcement. So Yoruba, Zach, remind me later. And so go ahead and please reintroduce yourself to the Conflict Whisperer audience.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Zach Miers. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I'm also a husband, a father. I am a therapist. I specialize in trauma, substance use disorder, family systems issues, and of course, marital and couples counseling, helping individuals heal their families. I think is really important. That's kind of where the conversation went the first time. So yeah. Hopefully we can reach a lot of people who may be dealing with these things in their own lives, their own marriages, with their partners, and having any potential issues in their families.
Well, thank you for being here. You know, you are always welcome to the show. And for everyone that is new to the show, you might be like, who in the world is she talking to on occasion? And so what I do, this is not a traditional podcast, y'all, because when I do my podcast, I also go live on Facebook. So I allow Facebook friends to hop on and go, oh, wait, what's going on here? So, and join the conversation. Sometimes some people don't, and sometimes some people do. And so I see friends this morning. Welcome you all. And I encourage you all, if you have a question, put it in the chat. You can also be brought on screen if you want, if you got some makeup on this morning. If you don't have some makeup on, I don't know, I'm just saying. So, well, my very first question is, it's a doozy. It's a doozy for you. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for it. Okay, you and I were talking. We were chatting it up. And, you know, we discussed marriage therapy. And you said something interesting to me. You said that when men come into marriage therapy, they say that they want to have their wives fixed. Mm-hmm. I need to take my glasses off for this so I can see something. So I'm confused. What do men want fixed? What's going on with men saying that women need to be fixed? Because what do they want?
That's a great question. I think it's a matter of communication and types of communication. Okay. You know, often I hear men complain and disclose that they're kind of unsure what their wife wants. You know, the message may be a little bit vague or may not be as straightforward as they want or as they like. Oftentimes, you know, because they're not doing ongoing conversation in their day to day, or at least a few times a week. If you look at like the Gottman School, we talked about that last time, which is like 90 minutes that it says like, you know, really healthy couples should invest like in 90 minutes of communicative time with each other to work through problems, to connect, to stay connected through the the functioning of life and the day-to-day rigors that they're both trying to work through. So I think that is primarily what I was saying, is that there's always a breakdown in communication, and oftentimes there's speculation or assumption about what their partner wants or needs, and the communication isn't clear. And then what happens is they get frustrated. They don't know how to get through if they're at an impasse on certain topics or just situations. And then what happens is, like we always kind of joke, is you're having an argument about the dishwasher, and then it explodes into like all of this other stuff, and all these other problems like flood in, resentments come out, all the anger's there, because they haven't been letting off the steam or working through these things consistently throughout their weeks. And then just at the wrong moment, everything hits, and it's like a powder keg. It goes off, and then that's when they usually come to me, and then I hear I don't know what she wants. She wants this, she wants that. I try this, I try that, and there's nothing helps. Nothing I do is good enough, or something like that. So yeah, primarily it's the breakdown of communication, and the inability to stay connected through the very challenging lives that people live nowadays, with usually with both parents working, if there's kids involved. So yeah, the communication is so essential.
So I appreciate you, one, bringing up John Gottman and his family, because him and his wife do a spectacular training, and you would be surprised. Well, in my master's program, we actually study Gottman, okay? Because Gottman is so good that he can actually, you all didn't know this, he can actually tell you if you're going to get a divorce, like just within minutes. Like it's amazing. But let me just say this. I love the fact that you said 90 minutes of communication, like sitting down and having conversation. I just want to say, dear men, with a smile on my face, because I want to be charming right now and a little bit demure. 90 minutes, that's not all, because I don't know how many minutes are in the week. But your wife, your mate, your partner still needs more than 90 minutes. What we're discussing is 90 minutes of conversation about challenges and issues that you're having in relationships, right? In the relationship, getting to clarifying statements, asking, why did you say that? What can I do for you? All of those types of questions. So that's vitally important to understand. The other thing is that I hear what you're saying in regards to the communication the communication breakdown, because women, now it's time to be fair, right? Because I like to come for people equally. Women, we have to state what we want. Ladies, I see a lot of women over there in the chat. Are y'all stating what you want? Are you like vague? Are you kind of hoping by telekinesis that they'll just know because they should know better? And there are some things about knowing better, but a lot of them don't. So state the obvious. So Zach, what do women complain about?
Well, yeah, I mean, a number of things. I think, usually, when people come in, there's been ongoing tensions, in the marriage, and breakdowns around different value sets. So clinically, I'll just use kind of like what I do in my practice. I work a lot with acceptance and commitment therapy. Dr. Stephen C. Hayes, if you can look him up. But basically, anytime that we're acting or committing to action or committing to behaviors, it has to do with our hierarchy of values. And when we are trying to align to a value, let's say family or marriage is a value that I'm trying to kind of align with, I have to share that value with my partner, with my spouse, with my family. And anytime that those values are perceived as having barriers, right? So if I'm sharing the value of love or marriage with my spouse, I have to share that space with her. And what happens is, the closest those values are to our heart, the higher they are up on the hierarchy, the more we're going to perceive barriers there. And anytime that we perceive a barrier to us in a value because it's valuable, we have an inner kind of explosion of energy, thought, emotion, sensation, perspective. And then that if we're not communicating that and channeling that energy into how we talk and how we explore and how we discuss with our spouses, it will be too bottled up, and eventually it takes over the behavior and it pulls us out of alignment with that. So I could be trying to engage with my spouse, but because I'm not articulating that energy properly, even if that energy is, frustration or, being irritable, or having irritation about the spouse, that we have to let that, our vocal tone, the way that we speak, the way that we articulate is the outlet of that energy. And we have to let that energy out, or it becomes a powder keg. So as you were saying, like over the course of the week, if you sit down with your spouse and you're saying, hey, when you said this is how I felt. It made me feel this. It made me feel that. I started to think these things about you. Can you help me understand that a little bit more? There's a great Walt Whitman quote about, seeking to understand, not being judgmental. And what happens is, if we're not talking with our spouses, we launch into these like holistic judgments about them. Like it lacks that like dialectical processing of like, hey, she can ask me about my financials, my financial situation, or our financial situation. It doesn't mean that she doesn't trust me. But if you're not mindful about that, an inquiry about like, hey, we need to sit down and look at our finances, could be like, oh, she doesn't trust me. I'm just a failure on this, on that. And we overgeneralize, and then it becomes more conflict oriented. But yeah, we have to work on these ways that we can listen reflectively. We can empathize with our partners. We can affirm and validate them. And obviously then we have to partner with them and explore with them and collaborate with them. But that's, that's usually what is happening, is that they're not putting in that time. And like you had said with the Gottmans, they can watch a couple for 15 minutes and then at a 90 some percentile say, hey, in 15 years, you're either going to be married or divorced. Because it's such a, it's such a cadence that you have to have. It's a dance that you have to have with your spouse. You have to be in rhythm with each other. And a lot of that is, work and hard work on how we communicate and how we allow that energy to flow through our articulation about certain issues.
So I'm going to circle back because I don't feel like you answered my question, therapist Zach. What do women complain about when they come in and say, I need help, or they're sitting on the couch with their husbands or their mates? What is going on?
Yeah, so to break it down, I mean, one of the main things. Am I still alive?
Yeah, you're there.
Okay, good. I'm getting like, I have like get concerned, but so some of the main things, not listening. There's a lack of listening, or again, he doesn't validate concerns. And look, this is both ways. I don't want to just lay it on, as you said. I think inaction, not lack of equitable division of labor. I'm doing all of these things, he's not, or I'm doing all these things, she's not. How anything shared value, right? So finances, child rearing, discipline in the home, the commitment levels that each feels, the attentiveness. I think that's a really important thing. The Gottman showed that one of the things that can override tension in a marriage is when one of the members of the married couple, they reach out, right? They can anticipate, the other partner's needs and wants, or just the checking in, like, hey, I was thinking about you. I'm thinking about you when you're not around. I wanted to text you or call you, or, hey, check in with you. How you doing today? How are you feeling today? That ongoing, if your partner is reaching out to you when you're not around, and they're basically anticipating you and thinking about you, and they're letting you know that you're on my mind, you're a priority in my life, and even though you're not here in my vicinity or directly in front of me, I want to let you know I'm thinking about you. And so I hear a lot of that. He doesn't check in, or she doesn't check in with me. I never get asked about how I'm doing. All we do is like go to work and raise the kids. There's no romance. There's no fun anymore. There's no playfulness. He just sits on the couch. He comes home from work, he just sits on the couch, he doesn't do anything. That effort and that energy that we need to put in and to invest into our marriages and into our spouses or our partners, that is if we invest, we'll get a return on investment. But for whatever reason, it's busyness, it's too many things going on during the week, and during the weekend, there's just not enough energy. And it just becomes complacency. And when the marriage gets complacent, and when it's just a matter of functioning with your spouse and not enjoying your spouse, that's when a lot of the disclosures come forward. Hey, this is a problem. I need to fix this. We need to fix this. He needs to be fixed. She needs to be fixed, because there's just low energy, low investment, complacency, lack of romance, lack of communication, not enough commitment back and forth.
Gosh, I'm over here, you guys. I have already started the list from Zach. That's my Zach list, because I'm like, okay, I love it. One of the things that let me not forget, because Regina, thank you, Regina. Regina has a question, and she says, don't you think the breakdown is a lack of authentic integrity?
Mm-hmm. Great question.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely, and part of the process, of this. Well, my version, it's called leap time with your partner. So the leap is listening reflectively, empathizing, affirming, and partnering with each other. And yes, I think a lot of, I'm always surprised when married couples come in and I ask them about the other partner. What do they like? What are their values? What are they interested in? Like, what are they going through right now? And they're kind of like blanked about how to respond to that stuff. Because I think, if you're not communicating, you don't know the person, right? So there's people who've been married 10, 20 years where there's kind of like this lack of, who is that person authentically? What is, who is Zach authentically? Who is my wife? What makes them tick? What is the central core to their essence or their being? So unless we're having these conversations, we don't really know. And having done this work with my own wife and having walked a lot of couples through this, they get to know each other. You started this podcast today about friendship. There has to be like this friendship clause in your marriage vows where, you have to talk with each other and explore like you would with a good friend. What have you been up to? How's everything going? You been taking care of yourself? How you feeling? Just a normal question you would ask a friend. Some married couples just miss that because they're so focused in on functioning and keeping the house afloat, paying their bills, raising the kids, that they're not in that space of like developing an understanding around the authenticity or the integrity of the other person. Trying to keep track of that. If you look at the top reasons for divorce in the United States, it's lack of commitment, infidelity is really high, conflicts and arguments, people getting married too young and not really like knowing what they are with marriage, right?
Yeah.
Financial reasons, substance use disorder, and domestic violence are like the top ones. So, you need to invest with your spouse, right? There has to be a time where you're connecting and getting to know what's going on and exploring with them. Sharing of interests and sharing of values is the greatest gift of marriage. I get a friend, I get someone who enjoys these things. We stay interested in each other. We are curious with one another. We explore with one another. There's a lot of different ways that I do that as a therapist. But yes, it's so important to know who your spouse is as the spouse and you are evolving in your life. You're changing, you're going through different phases, and, getting to know what's going on, getting to know what's in their heart and in their soul. So yes, authenticity and integrity, very, very high on the list of important topics that we try to work through in marital therapy.
And it's thank you for that answer, because I think I cringed a little bit listening to you. Like, the horror of being married and not having your spouse want to talk to you or interact with you kind of creeps me out. It's a little creepy because my mind goes to the beginning. If we're dating, why are we changing by the time we put a ring on both of our fingers and we say, I do, right? And a house and work and all of those things were there prior, except for children in some cases. But those things were previously there. And then it seems as if we removed the alertness that we have to our mates, right? Because we're so sensitive to, well, hold on, I'm going to pause and say some are sensitive to their spouses. It makes me wonder how it is that and why it is that people are getting married, right? If 10 years down the line, you cannot answer who your spouse is, I don't know what you all are doing. I'm just going to say that.
Great point.
I'm confused. And if someone in the chat can tell me how it is y'all are married for 10 years and don't know what your spouse's favorite color is, even though that's not really that important unless it's your spouse's thing. If you don't know what their value systems are, I don't know why we're married. That's a challenge for me. And I don't, listen, I was a whole married woman. I'm a divorced woman now. And I will say this, in regards to my past relationship, we were great friends. And it was interesting how better friends we were than married couples, right? That just was something that was just a part of that relationship. Anytime we were able to be centered back, it was because of the friendship. And guess what? We are friends till this day. And that's okay. That's a good thing. George Williams says, couldn't agree more. Friendship is a key factor. So keep the comments coming. I do want to say, what do you see in your experience when it comes to the little people, right? The kids in the midst of this. How are kids impacted when mom and dad break down for whatever reasons? How are the kids impacted? Because we don't really talk about children a lot.
It's a great question. One of the most common things that I hear is there are these monumental issues that the couple cannot figure out, the married couple cannot figure it out. And it seems to be irreconcilable in terms of their ability to get through those problems. And what I hear a lot is like, we're just going to stay married for the kids. Like this self-imposed prison sentence of like, hey, we're just going to be together for the next 18 years until the kids grow up because we don't want to put them through the difficulties of dealing with a divorce. So it's like, like kids are observant. They know, they can sense the energy. We had talked about this during the last podcast where, kids are observing and constructing, what these values mean, that the how they define these core beliefs around love and marriage and family and stress and conflict resolution. What are watching your parents? Like, what are you seeing in those spaces that you are absorbing and that will basically develop inside of you as your constructs? So the kids bear the brunt of a lot of this stuff because they're observing this, and because it can impact their attachment styles, it can impact their love languages, it can impact how confident they are within themselves, how they express and go after love and relationship. So the kids definitely take on a lot of the familial stress and the energy of the home. And then when I work with kids inside of the family systems work, they say things like that, like, mommy and daddy never kissed. I never seen my parents hug. They sleep in separate beds. They observe all of these behaviors where, well, if we just stay married, the kids are going to be fine. But they're picking up on these cues to be married. And that's why you see like divorce rates. We talked last time about this transgenerational trauma and this passing on of traits to the younger generation, that they're constructing all of this, and they know when the parents are aligned and in love, and they play, they're playful in front of each other, they're flirty, they're kissing, they're making the kids feel uncomfortable, which my wife and I kind of do, but that's love, like that, the essence of that love, and they're taking that in. And if it's not happening, it's happening in the opposite direction. So, then when they become adults and they're seeking out a partner, they're getting married, or they're having problems in their own marriages, they're using this information that they've developed over the course of their lifespan to behave, interpret, perceive in certain ways. And if it hasn't been done right, you see this play out in the family line. You see divorce rates that kind of get kicked down generation to generation, domestic violence. This is why we give that adverse childhood experiences questionnaire to people, because the main topics of that are the things that you're experiencing in your home with your biological parents or your caregivers.
I'm telling you, I actually think that one of the greatest lies that is continually repeated over and over again is that we are staying for the children. That is one of the greatest lies ever told. And I don't know why it is that adults get adult amnesia and forget that they were children and they know what they saw in their own homes. And that is crazy to me that adults say we're staying together for the children. And this is where I believe that societal characteristics and attributions come in place when we're just like, listen, you have to have a 2-parent family. Everyone has to be in the same home to be successful and healthy. But the truth of the matter is that if children are inside of homes that are unhealthy, they may not be healthy when they get older. And I think we need to stop telling that lie. And I also believe that it's something, I don't think we're supposed to sacrifice our own happiness. That's just me. In my life, I don't think God created me to be unhappy. And that's is something I will stand on. And I believe that God will have to sit with me at the pearly gates and say, and have a conversation with me. I know that when I was divorcing, that one of the things I sat down with my children, the 2 that were still at home, and I said, Mommy and Daddy deserve to be happy. End of story. Kids understand happy. They understand unhappiness. In my own family, I remember thinking and praying that my parents would get a divorce. And I was a child when I thought that, right? And so imagine we are allowing little people to see harm, and that's not good. And it's just, we allow that. You said something to me that kind of sparked a remembrance, that it also comes down, I think it's Gottman, because, we talk about the conflict, we talk about the arguing, right? And sometimes what we're arguing about usually has nothing to do with what triggered it. Absolutely nothing, right? And there's a concept of the first dance. Are you familiar with the first dance, Zach? Therapist Zach?
From the Gottmans? No, please remind me. Yes.
I think it's Gottman who says that the very first argument that you have with your mate sets the precedence on how you will argue moving forward. And so think about it, you guys. Think about if you can go back in history and go, what was my reaction during that first fight, that very first argument? If you guys walked away from each other and there was silence for days, that's going to be your practice for the breadth of your relationship. If you all are screaming and yelling at each other and you still don't know what you're arguing about, that will be the practice. If someone is more powerful with their words and their voices, and you talked about tone, which people still have a problem with tone, I don't know why, then and one person kind of cowers and is low conflict, moves away, that tends to be the pattern that happens. And Gottman calls it the first dance. And so when you see couples, when they come to you, are you seeing that? Are you trying to dismantle the patterns of arguing?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that point up, because I usually just reference it as, hey, you are in a dysfunctional dance right now. Like you both are accustomed to the steps, but it lacks harmony, it lacks a flow, and you're stepping on each other's toes, and it's all over the place. But the moves, and you're both engaged in this dance with each other, and it takes 2 to dance. So whether whoever is the dominant and whoever is the submissive, in these codependent relationships or in these unhealthy relationships, it still is a dance. There still is contributions from both partners that formulate that dance and construct that dance. So usually, the couples with the highest success rates, there's 2 people who understand that, and that they know that they're contributing to this dysfunctional dance. The harder ones are where it's one partner saying, hey, I want to dance different. I'm gonna go dance kind of on my own over here. If you want to join me, you're gonna come join me, but you're gonna find my rhythm, because my rhythm is what I feel I need to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. I need you to come over here and learn my dance with me, and we can kind of like learn that together. And that's hard, because anytime you're trying to force change on somebody, they go into this psychological reactance where there is like an opposition to it. Anytime that we feel that we're being forced into change, and we're not able to provide our own insights or our own contributions to that change process, we pull back. We get oppositional to it. So when one partner says, "Hey, there's problems here," and the other partner's like, "No, there's not. This is fine for me." Usually they're the dominant. That's the dominant part. Yeah, I'm good. Everything's great on my end. What are you talking about, right? So those are the harder ones. But yes, to get that type of couple to change, the partner, usually the submissive in the relationship, or the softer one, the one that's more placating to the other partner, will have to pull away. And then the other partner notices this. It's like, what's going on? This isn't what I'm accustomed to. This isn't how we dance. And the partner who's pulled away says, "Okay, we're gonna dance different now. Now I'm gonna change the steps. Now you're gonna have to learn, this new form of engagement, this new way that we're gonna do things." It works. It does. It just takes a lot of commitment, and sometimes people aren't ready to commit. Like I said, and you just clarified that sometimes that partner who's been dominating in the relationship is like, "No, this works for me." And I'll even see. And you can look in the systems work, that when that partner who is maybe a little bit more submissive, placating to the other partner, when they start to change, the more dominant partner at times will try to subvert that. They'll try to damage that process or that growth process or that change process. They'll try to knock their partner down a little bit to get them in alignment with the dynamic that they're more comfortable with. So there is these elements of sabotage, I guess you could say, to try and get it into that position that they're comfortable with. Because a lot of times, if you're a dominant person, that's a personality issue. And a personality issue just isn't about your marriage. That's how you navigate the world. So your worldview is very domineering. And if your partner's challenging that dominance, that not only means that you have to change for the partner, but for your spouse, you have to change the way you engage with the world. There are probably other examples in that person's life that they have these personality traits that are very domineering and override people who are a little bit more softer or submissive in their personality traits.
And with that, I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about high conflict, low conflict people after the break. So see you guys on the other side.
One of the biggest challenges for coaches, practitioners, and hypnotherapists is getting clients. As coaches ourselves, we know how difficult it is on social media to stand out and gain credibility. That is why at Life Coaching Today, we connect coaches like you with clients. It all starts with our directory, where it's possible to create a profile that gets the right exposure with over 12,000 hits a month. You can gain credibility by writing for Life Coaching Today magazine, add videos, be interviewed on our podcast, teach classes in the community, and sell your products directly from our website. Not to mention, we actually connect clients who are actively searching for coaches who can best serve them. So if you are struggling to get clients, have Life Coaching Today help you get more clients. Go to lifecoachingtoday.com.
And we're back. So, okay, because I like to tell the truth, y'all. Listen, the doggy was over here. She needed a little attention. But then also I was like, oop, I forgot my charger. Oh, I need to get my charger before we just completely went blank. So that happens. So you you got into my wheelhouse. You got all up in my jam, as I like to say, when you talk about submissive, dominant, high conflict, low conflict people, because guess what? First of all, I want to say this. If you dislike change, please just type something in the comments, because I need to know if you like change. All my people that are out here that love change, let me know. And don't lie, this good morning. And then I want you to answer the question, because this is an interesting topic, because I know you are a man of faith, and I believe in God as well. But I'm sure my version of the relationships between men and women, I have different lenses in that space. And so because I work in and I study conflict for a living, right? I understand high conflict people because high conflict people have very different attributes than other people. And it's also situational. For some people, it's situational. Being a high conflict person, meaning I always describe them as the people that kind of jump and charge right into a conflictual situation. There's some people like that all the time. They wake up in the morning with conflict. They go to bed with conflict. They go to the store, they're cussing people out. Those are the type of people that you were referring to that are like, it's a personality disorder and you need to sit down somewhere, right? And then the same issue is on the other side with all my low conflict people, right? Like they are so accommodating. They are so almost fearful of not having that connection with someone that they are really almost passive. And that is also a personality issue as well, because that tends to be derived in trauma and also as people pleasing. So I'm just going to pause and say, so no one that's listening, everyone likes trauma. Okay. I mean, not trauma. I'm sorry. Change. Everyone loves change on the podcast today. So I need to be able to identify what I call our conflict resolution styles, because we do have a dominant one. And then we have some other ones that are kind of like they follow up. Because what I do is I teach people what their conflict resolution style is, their dominant one, and then I teach them the exact opposite, because you need both of those skills. So if I'm high conflict, I teach them how to be low conflict, because sometimes you need to sit down and be quiet. And then on the opposite side, if you're low conflict, you need to know when to use high conflict skills. You said something interesting to me about the dance. And you use the language, the dominant, the submissive one. And so in 2025, probably in the last 5 years or so, we've had a surge of conversation between men and women about this necessity, especially of women being submissive to men, right? Now, I'm going to ask you to answer this in two ways. Or if your practice is a blend of this philosophy, do you believe that women need to be submissive? And everyone take on that as however you define that, because everyone's definitions are different. In marriages, or I'm just going to stick in the marriage realm.
No, I mean, I think I've seen it go both ways. You know, I've worked with couples where the male partner, the husband, is more domineering, dominant. We're talking about dysfunction. So it's important that we preface this with the engagement and how someone would be engaging with their spouse to basically coordinate the marriage, and how the breakdown of those values, as I said previously, would be in terms of communication, conversation, who's in charge of what, and what that daily functioning looks like between the two people. But I've seen it go both ways. I've seen women who come in who definitely have like borderline personality tendencies, who are very domineering, and the male partner is more submissive and placates to her. I've seen it where the males come in and they're just tone deaf, completely like tone deaf to and oblivious to like the problems that they cause, because they're so forceful in the way that they argue. Like you were saying, like there's a style to disagreements and conflicts, and men can come off very aggressive, and through just like verbal arguments. I've worked with men who the words that they use are like weapons. They are very pointed, and they're there to harm and to hurt, and they go for the jugular in terms of the things that they say. They're breaking down. One of the things I hear a lot from women, mostly women, but I do hear it from men, where there's this like conditioning that the dominant partner tries to do, basically conditioning and trying to get them to believe in their perception that they'll never get anything better than the partner.
Ooh,
right?
Wait, pause.
Mm-hmm.
We have to pause there. because I have to insert and say that is a type of verbal abuse, emotional abuse in the realm of the domestic violence abuse.
Yep.
I need to say that because, and we need to teach if I just have to pause here because that is so powerful, because if you have sons, you have to teach your sons their ways, not the right way all the time.
Yep.
That is, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I didn't want to miss that moment because
no, it's important.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, and too, like you have to understand, like when I enter someone's life or like a married couple's life, and they come to me for therapy, they're at different stages and phases of their marriage. You know, sometimes the conflict's really early, sometimes they're in the process of a divorce, and or they're in the process of, like, you know, asset distribution and you know, child custody issues in court. So, you know, I'm trying to cover a broad spectrum of the cases that I see, but that is something that is definitely you hear in these domestic abuse situations where, you know, you have this kind of narcissistic mind game going. Like the narcissist is claiming that the partner is doing to them what they're actually doing to the partner. You know, that kind of flip around game that narcissists play. But yeah, it's a form of control. You know, what people with like what we call, like, previously cluster B personality disorder, emotions are a tool, an exploitable tool to use against people. And, you know, emotions can be used to leverage control. You know, if you don't do this in this way, I'm going to harm you, harm myself, do something extreme. And like I think you had mentioned that even today, that, you know, that this, you know, this temperament that some people have, they're very conflict oriented, you know. So people who are very conflict oriented, not just in their marriages, have these like cluster B personality tendencies where they use conflict and emotion and drastic measures, extreme measures, to try and get people to act in a way that they want. And you can pattern that out to different contexts in life, but that's usually how, you know, that person has learned to navigate. That is, again, it is an outgrowth of trauma. Borderline personality disorder has been closely linked, you know, the correlations there with early childhood trauma, or the ACEs score, to such a degree where they're actually like changing some of the diagnostic criteria around chronic PTSD because of these, you know, these ligaments that we see from early childhood trauma and survivability to borderline tendencies, which is, again, very high conflict orientation, leveraging people's emotions or holding oneself hostage to get the other person to act in a way. Like, if you don't do this, I'll hurt or harm myself, right? Like, if you take the kids away, I'm just going to kill myself, right? Like something as extreme as that. It's like the person's holding themselves hostage to get their partner to either be scared, to be fearful, or some emotion that's going to come forward. And then they take that emotion, they leverage it, they exploit it, and then they try to get what they want. And for a long time, it usually works in marriages. But yeah, at that point, when they come in to see me, usually it's in the process of the marriage kind of dissolving. It takes a lot. I mean, I'm sure you've heard in your work, you know, when you have these domestic violence situations, domestic abuse, where if that person told their story to somebody just like on the street, they'd be like, that's terrible. Like, get out of there. But for some reason, you know, that person who is in the, like you had said, the lower energy conflict style or the submissive is conditioned to it. They probably had some type of element of that in their childhood where they're patterning. Well, my mom just kind of took it, and she stayed together for the kids. And, you know, we share our house and finances, and on the outside, people think we're great, but he, or, you know, is abusive behind closed doors. So people stay for the same reasons as why people become abusers. You know, these are long held patterns that have been passed down through the family line, and that these people have been exposed to in childhood and during their upbringing, where they're patterning their own behaviors on that information rather than being able to see what they're in and separate out the reality from the emotion or the trauma, and then make decisions that are more healthy and would improve the outcome of not only the person, but probably the family system.
Ooh, goodness. Ooh, Lord. Okay. So my mind went to a place, and I'm going to say this. So a couple things. So the first thing is, if you are wondering, if you have a curiosity about why people stayed, I encourage you to look for a book called I Know Why She Stayed.
Yep.
There is a book that friends of mine wrote, and I actually sit on the board of directors for I Know Why She Stayed.org. And it is two fantastic women who tell their stories because it is very hard. Like people on the street really have a hard time understanding what that looks like, because people always, I always say people have this kind of Superman kind of theory about themselves. Oh no, I will always do, I would never, and then they end up in the never. And then they don't know what to do. They're like, oh, I didn't realize I was going to be here. So that's the first thing. And I want to say, Heather, welcome to the show. Good morning. So I know why she stayed.org, great organization to help women and men, but really women deal with domestic violence, especially in the financial abuse realm of domestic violence. But I don't want to end on this note, because you have decided to give us time today, and we're going to go a little further because even Europa said she can stay a little bit. I want to know, what are some fun activities that you can say to your clients that they should do? Do you ever give recommendations, or have they come to you with some fun activities that you're like, yeah, go back and rebuild, go back and start from the beginning?
Yeah, there's an interesting technique I use. It's an acronym. It's called TEAM, where you can kind of like incorporate it into the time that both the couple sets aside to have this communication, to have this exploration with each other. And it's kind of like, it's like teaching, so you get to like educate your hey, this is something I read today. My wife and I, like, one of the best things I get from her is like, she keeps me interested, she keeps me engaged. She's a very intelligent woman, and she's always like bringing forward like really like interesting and cool things that she learns, or that she knows, or what she's doing in her work. And so we get to like teach our partners, like, this is something that I'm doing in my work, this is some feedback that I got. I read a cool article, hey, I watched this documentary. And you get to like teach your spouse about things that you're interested in, and kind of get things back to the authenticity. This is really cool for me, and I learned it, I want to share it with you. And then the E, it's kind of like the empathy again, like you get to express your emotions. And then you get to affirm those emotions, and then you can kind of go through metrics of different things that you're going through in your life. So anytime that you're setting aside time, and then again, it's a prioritization. We have to agree that we're going to prioritize each other, at this time. So yeah, like date nights, setting aside time, making sure that my clients are writing like love letters to their spouse. It's almost like a journaling activity, where it's like, I struggle to be authentic and express myself in the space of my marriage. And as we talked about last podcast, some men don't have that language, so I'll have them write, just write down what's going on. Like, if you're thinking about your wife when she's not around, write it down. Hey, you crossed my mind today. This is what I was thinking. This is what I want to tell you. And then when you do have that leap time, or that set aside time, the prioritized time, then you can share those letters and those journal entries. But yeah, something as easy as a text message. I usually will discuss with my clients, like, the big things are pretty easy for normal functioning marriages. When you can show up for the holidays or birthdays or anniversaries, big events, weekend stuff, weekend activities, going out, having fun. It's the other like 90% of time in marriages, where they're kind of like just the average moments of your life, where you're coming home from work. What are you talking about at dinner? Do you even eat dinner together? Do you have your family around the dinner table? How do you greet your spouse when they come through the door? What is the typical rundown of like how you engage with them? How often and what are you texting to your spouse? Sometimes I'll have, each partner has to text the gratitude to one another at least once or twice during the day. How are you engaging as a married couple in like the average moments of life? You know, how are you, in terms of like proximity and closeness, how much hand holding, how much affection, you know, these kinds of things we can monitor and develop into protocol, so they can establish these systems into their life, like a protocol of romance or a protocol of communication, just to make sure that we're capturing all of those shared values that each person brings into the marriage, and then they can align to those values uh, in an optimized way, and the barriers go down, the communication goes up, and then they get to really just enjoy each other. And getting back to our point about authenticity, getting to know your partner is what
Yeah.
we're talking about, and how you communicate. And then once you're confident in that space, then you get to enjoy all the other fun stuff. You get to be playful, you get to be romantic, but there has to be like measurable action, you know, actionable steps to do that. So yes, we build a lot of these protocols into their lives to make sure that we're hitting on all these important things, and that there is commitment, there is fidelity, that there is, you know, interest there, that there's romance there, that, you know, they're doing all the things that they need to do to really like foster and nurture this very important relationship.
Is the A in team, is that authenticity? Is it assessment? What is that? What does the A stand for?
I give different terms for it. I don't like to give the tool and say this is what you need to do.
Okay.
I kind of give them what you did. I'll say it could be assessment, it could be affirmation, it could be affection.
Oh, okay.
What do you think would work best for you two? Because I want it to be like, you know, obviously in therapy, it's like, it's not my way. It's I need to just kind of give you a framework, and then we'll explore the specifics and the details based upon what you're most willing to do. If it's their plan, they're more willing to stick to it. So I'll say, hey, some couples use this as an A. Some use this. Some like affection there. Some like assessment there. Some like affirmation. What do you two want to do with that A, or that the metrics? Like, what does that mean for you? Like, what would you go over in that space, and exploring with them, and then having them confirm that, agree to it, and then implement it, and then report back to me during the next session.
Okay, I like that. I like that team acronym, because that's what marriage is. Relationships are a team. You should be a team. You should be aligned. You should be moving, beating to the one drum, marching in the same direction. All of those wonderful euphemisms. Okay, this is the important time of the day that I have a question for you. I let you slide the last time you were on the show. And I know that earlier, I don't know if Melanie is still on, your beautiful wife. I don't know if she is still on, and we're not going to tell her your answer, but I have a question.
Sure.
How many chores do you do in the house?
How many chores? Oh,
yes.
A list. I do know that you know, there are specific things, which I think, again, you know, what seems to happen is, you know, as each partner is kind of going about things, we're keeping like a running like task list in our minds, and if we're not communicating, I can't do a good job at knowing how to jump in or to do the things that she's been doing a lot. So, you know, sometimes it's hard for us to anticipate, because we're so, you know, our attentions are so diverted. So, you know, there are times where she'll be like, hey, I need help in this area, or, you know, hey, this would be a good opportunity to teach the boys. We were kind of talking about like, hey, the boys need to learn how to load the dishwasher. I was getting ready for the podcast. Right. She was trying to, you know, so I think she was making like protein muffins this morning, and she's like, I need some help here, right? But you know, we've gotten into such a rhythm where, you know, we'll just sit and, you know, like whether it's during our leap time or in the moment, be like, hey, I need some more help in this area, I need some more help in this area. And I always say to her, if you need something, you know, just let me know. You know, we are a team, and I do the same to her. Like, hey, you know, I'm gonna need some help. I'm putting the mulch down, which, you know, so hey, I'm gonna get the boys when you're up doing your session. The three of us are gonna do it. So, but I do like, you know, like a typical person should be like, hey, dude, you know, like I'm the only one that's ever doing dishes and ever loading a dishwasher. Like I need some help here, you know. And
so I'm gonna ask you a real pointed question. When was the last time you scrubbed a bathtub, Zach? When was the last time?
Oh man, I get that one a lot. Bathroom stuff. For my wife to have to clean up 3 boys. we have, you know, 2.5 baths in the house, and that is a consistent. Our boys don't have good aim, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Most men, we're kind of oblivious to some of the messes that we leave in bathrooms as men. So I got to hand it to her. She handles it with grace and beauty, like anything that she does. But if be honest, but I got to say, I try to sidestep bathroom chores, I think more than any other chore that I do. So
I think I'm going to start a movement today. Women leave the bathroom to the man. Let men clean the bathrooms or designate, because there's a new trend of women and men having their own separate bathrooms. Give them one all their own and make them go ahead and clean it. And I'm just telling you all, Melanie said, be honest, Zach. I feel like I'm not.
She's in the house with 3 stinky boys, So she's like, this is my bathroom. And even with that, my boys, overrun that rule and like, there's a bathroom in your bathroom. And
of course.
It's like, come on.
We always want something more than what you can have, right? So that is great. Great, Zach. Thank you. Therapist Zach. Thank you for being on the show with me and just giving us so much wisdom. I learned so very much from you. And so I just want to say, I had a huge announcement, you all. And so I just want to say that Therapist Zach has agreed to be on the show about every 6 weeks because he is just giving us so many tools. And over the next couple of months, as we build this relationship between myself and him, and him joining us on the show and becoming a part of this family, because we have a wacky family over here on Life Coaching Today platform. We're going to have some other things that you guys will join us on. So thank you, Zach, for being on. And I always am remiss to say thank you to the audience. Thank you guys on Facebook for joining. If you are on, please follow me because that would be great. So you know what's coming and you can see my events and see all the great other people that I have on my show. Zach, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to leave us with anything, even if it's an apology to Melanie to say, I'm sorry that you still have to direct me. But whatever, 2 minutes.
First thing I want to say is if you haven't done it yet, check out Kadada's book on Amazon. So I think that just want to give that a plug and, just appreciation and love, really this friendship has really blossomed and we're two like clinical geeks and we love and we're interested in all things related to the human condition. So I'm just very blessed to have you in my life and I appreciate you having me on. We're doing God's work here and we're helping a lot of people. So thank you to the audience. Obviously thank you to my wife for putting up with me and just peace, love, and blessings. If you have issues in your life, if you notice somebody that you love is struggling, don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact me at unifiedclinicalservices.com. All my information's on there. I've had some people reach out to me through Facebook or whatever, however you need to get it linked. If it's not with me, I have a broad network of people. I want to get people connected to care because I'm a big proponent of getting yourself care when you need it, getting your loved ones care, because we're in this together. We are all members of this thing we call humanity, and there is a lot of help out there. You don't need to suffer in silence. And if I can help in any way, just reach out. But Kadada, I love and appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing this and being a force of light in this dark world. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everyone. Zach, you know how I feel about you. Top notch, top tier. Find him, find me, because you might be like, listen, I don't want a therapist. I want a coach. I don't know. So, but I'm a life coach or a conflict coach, as I call myself. And we take on different tasks, varying degrees of issues. And so we're building a network. And contrary to the belief, I think this world is so bright and I'm so glad that you guys are in it. And I'm going to age myself, but I feel like I'm the romper room chick of today because I feel like everyone has the light that we can be. And sometimes we just need help. We just need help and assistance. And so I hope that you guys have a great, great day. See you next Thursday, maybe, because I got to travel. I got to be at a writing conference, and I will put in the chat when we're done at some point in time today, I will put the name of my book, but you can always just put into Amazon, Kadada Esmera Gray, and my book pops up. And so it's called Miss Polite Stained Heart. I would love for you to read that. And there's more to come, you guys. So Zach, thank you for this conversation. Thank you guys for your insights. Thank you guys for your support. And we're on to next week.
Love and blessings.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Life Coaching Today Presents, hosted by Kadada Gray and produced by Aruba Saad. Our mission at Life Coaching Today is to empower your health, business, community, and life. Check us out at lifecoachingtoday.com. Everyone here at the True Awesome Network would like to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and spread awesome.